Good evening, good evening, good evening, good evening, good evening. Hello. Apparently I gave you a Stephen Fry introduction to tonight's stream. Welcome. Hi. Okay, so, just as a brief recap of what happened yesterday, yesterday was the first stream of this series, and I talked a bit about the game in general, and also looked at a few of the tasks that I wanted to accomplish in the immediate future, and one of those tasks was to rewrite the level file format into something a bit more sensible, because the previous format was very inflexible and based on binary streams, and this one uses a more approachable structure based around a zip file containing a metadata file and a data file and some texture files that are just, well, the metadata and the data files are just Lisp source code that can be read in, and the textures are just images. So we did that, or at least for the most part we did it. Or I did it. I don't even know why I say we. I guess I like to make people feel like they took a part in it, because I kind of did. Anyway, so I did not actually get to do anything code-wise today, so there has been no progress since yesterday. I did, however, think about a bit about the problems that I discussed yesterday, and one of the problems was there's this meta file in the level file format, and this meta file contains some information like the name of the author. So there's a small spec here. It says name of the author, a version string, a description string, and an optional preview image link. And so the question was where we actually store this information. Because when you load a region, you load it into a scene, and the scene is sort of a container for all the objects in the game that get rendered and that have interaction. So anything that responds to events needs to be within the scene. And you can also have containers in the scene, and those can contain other things. So it's sort of a tree-like structure that performs the rendering and updating. And so having this kind of metadata about the current level in there does not really seem to fit. It doesn't seem to be at the right place. So what I thought about instead was that we create, what I thought about instead was that we create a new class called region, and this region class is going to be a unit, and it's going to have, actually it's also going to be a container, if I remember what the container does correctly. No, it does not. Hold on. Need to layer set. It is a container. Layer container, layer set. Oh, it just overrides that. Okay. Yeah, so it should be a container, and then objects should be something else. Yeah. So we make a region, and this region is going to be a container. The reason for this I'm going to explain in a bit, and we're going to have the necessary metadata on that object as well. So we have an author, a version, a description, and a preview. And so hopefully at some point in the editor you'll be able to set these fields to something useful. For now, let's just set the init form to nil and a accessor. There we go. So description cannot be empty according to the spec. So we'll just do 1000 or something, and the author is going to be anonymous. Okay, so that should give us a place to store all this metadata. And the idea is that we create a new region object when we load, and this region object is going to get stuffed into the scene, and within that region object is going to be everything else. So all the chunks, the player, all kinds of entities that move around or whatever are going to be within the region. And so the only things within the scene directly are going to be the region and other things like the controller, which is responsible for translating events, and the HUD or other kinds of things that are not directly game related. So everything that is like directly part of the game world is going to be within the region, and everything that's sort of based around that is going to be within the scene. So that's the current idea. Now, the reason why this is actually useful beyond that is the other problem that I discussed last time, which is the layering problem. So actually, let me draw this up again real quick using Krita here. And unfortunately, my primary monitor is not my Wacom display, so I can't use my nice stylus to draw. I'm going to have to use the mouse. And it's going to look terrible, but that's all right. Okay, so we had 3 layers here. Blue, green, and red. And these are layers on a chunk, so these are all within the same sort of object in the game's representation. Oh, it's not Comic Sans, okay. It's Comic Slick. Okay, that's alright. Doesn't really matter. So all of these 3 are, whoa, no, not that big. All of these 3 are part of the same object. They're just rendered. They're not actual entities in the game. And the reason, so we could make all layers of a chunk that are rendered, so the background, the ground, and the foreground could be separate entities. But the reason you don't really want to do that is because they're all positioned the same, they're all addressed the same as a single chunk. And so it makes sense to group them together like this. And when you have them grouped together like this, it gets into a bit of an issue when you want to draw, because you might have entities that are independent of your chunk, and they might have to be drawn. They might have to be drawn in the foreground, so over this red layer, or they might have to be drawn beneath the red layer, or they might have to be drawn way in the back. And because these are separate entities, so we link those up to separate things, I guess. I don't know why I'm making so much effort to do this. Wait, no, save. There we go. And then we have, I really wish Krita didn't do this default text thing. It's kind of annoying. Okay. I wish I could just draw. It would be so much faster. Oh my god, stop. Why is that suddenly a different font? Oh well, whatever. Okay, so these are separate entities, and so when you draw things in order, say I draw A, and then I draw B, and then I draw C, and then I draw the chunk, then the chunks layers are going to be on top of everything, instead of being layered between things as they should be. So the idea now is to make this new region object take control of the rendering order. So now the idea is that each of these, let's take yellow here, yeller. So each of these objects has a layer number. So, okay, draw there, whatever. So this has 0, and this has 1, and this has 2, let's say. And the chunk has a number of layers. Each are also numbered according to their layer index, I guess. 0, 1, 2. And now within this region, it's going to know which entities are in which layer. And it's also going to know about the chunks, which layers it's going to occupy. So the chunk is going to be within multiple layers at once. And when the region actually calls to draw something, it'll pass along the current index of which layer it wants to draw, so that the chunk can decide which part of its layers to draw. So first we're going to need a way to store this stuff. Now Trial already has, the game engine does already have a layered set kind of class thingy, but the layered set, as it sounds, is a set, which means an object can only occur once. But for this, we really need the chunk to be in there multiple times, and we also need a separate API for painting so that we can pass along which layer we want to paint. And so for that, and also for fun reasons, I'm just going to do this again. So we're going to make the init form a vector, or make array, rather, and it's going to have 3 dimensions, or let's make 5 for now. That should be good enough. And then we're gonna make or let me just do this in the constructor def method. Birds are fighting. That's no good. So we're gonna have our region. Actually, let's make an argument for the layer count. So layers 5. We could add that to the file format as well, I suppose. Okay, region, make array layers. Element type is going to be T, that's fine. And it's not going to be adjustable or anything. And then we're going to fill up the, why is that called region? Objects. We're going to fill that up. Setf, aref, objects, I, make array, and this is going to be 0. Adjustable T, fill pointer T. There we go. Setf. There we go. So now, planes. So now when we create a region object, we should have an object's index that'll allow us to go through or store objects based on their index, or based on their layer number, I guess. So I really want to check real quick what I did in the index set or layer set. So objects index map. Units. Okay, right, so we have custom enter functions and custom leave functions. Okay. Enter. It's unit. Layer set. Wait, no. Region. So this protocol that's used here is part of Flare. Flare is a particle, or Flare is more of an animation engine, and as part of its API it also has a scene graph, and this kind of protocol is used there. So we're making use of that in Trial as well for all of that kind of stuff. So we have 2 methods, enter and leave, for adding and removing things, obviously. Okay, should probably switch that around. Okay, and then we want to have special methods for leaving and entering a chunk, because there we'll need to handle entering it into multiple things. Okay. Now, for a unit, the question becomes, where is it going to be positioned? And I think the easiest way is to add a generic function that just gives us layer index, I guess, or that just gives us an index for the layer we want. And so the default implementation is just going to say layer 0, because that's the middle, I guess. Yeah, okay, that works fine. Unit 0. Okay, so when we enter a thing, we just grab the index and shift it up by half of the number of things. Actually, hold on. So we need to do... Sorry, I need to think about this for a second. So plus floor length objects region 2 layer index unit, and that'll give us the proper index, and then we just stuff it in here. Vector push extend unit aref air index unit index, or we should probably call this layer. Wait, no, objects. There we go. Ooh, there. Okay, so that should work fine, I hope. Now for the chunk, I'm not yet sure whether I want to force it to be the same number of layers everywhere. It could be wasteful. But for now, for simplicity's sake, let's just do that. So 2 times layer length objects region vector push extend chunk aref. Why is that? Why am I being an idiot? Stop being an idiot to me. Layer there. Okay. Okay, good. So that should handle that. And then for this, we need to recompute. Actually, I could probably do this recomputation in an around method. No, never mind, I couldn't because it's dependent on the region. Okay, let's just copy pasta this. And then I'm gonna need a library that I wrote, which is called array utils, I believe. Yes, okay. Vector isn't there a vector remove thingy? We don't really care about order at all within the layer itself, so that's fine. So we should have that followed by the position, which is position unit. There we go. Not really happy with this, but it's whatever. And here we have something similar again. There we go. Okay. That should do it. It's not great or efficient in any way at all, but that's fine. Okay. And now unit gives us... There's one thing that I'm not quite sure about, which is that I need to test this. So there's a flare also includes a generic way of traversing the scene graph. Flare. Whoa. Yeah. Print container tree. Right. Let's just construct a test case real quick. That's our make instance region. Enter make instance unit R. No for unit. Oh, did I not recompile that? Okay. So I can't traverse it. What happens if I do 4. Why is it lagging now? Come on. E over R. Print E. Huh. I don't like that very much, because that's an internal detail. So let me actually see how this works. I think it just traverses into the objects, probably. So flare. I think it's in container, maybe. Unit 4, make iterator. Yes. Okay. Map container tree, item over. Container. Yeah, so I think we need a custom iterator to skip all these empty things and actually traverse into this. So let's do that. Actually, now that I think about this, this is probably deeply broken to begin with. Food for thought. Because the current way the iteration is typically used. Is it broken or not? No, it's not broken, never mind. It's fine. But for this one, it's not acceptable. So, make iterator vector. Okay. Guess we need a custom iterator. Let me remember how these work. Hash table iterator. Yeah. So let's have class region. The iterators in the 4 library are fucking slow as balls, and I have an idea for how to make them faster, but I just haven't had the time yet. So maybe I'll do that on a future stream, but so far it's just not been a problem. So I haven't really bothered. Prefetch. What? What does prefetch mean? I don't even know. What does the iterator have? An object and a current. Okay. So def method has more. So many things I've written. Should be has more p, but ugh. So many things I've made into mistakes. Okay, what else do we need? Setf current, right. And make iterator, I guess. Is that really all? Yeah. How nice. Right, that needs a 4. And we need region. Key. Was there any? There's no necessary keys. Okay. Make instance region. Okay. Whoops. What? Oh, right. Value. Which should be a unit. Okay. Also, I am gonna put on music because I wanna. Now the question becomes, what do we want to listen to? Something that's not too obtrusive. Mirror's Edge. How about that? Mirror, mirror on the wall. There we go. Great. Okay, so we have a current thing. What does it do with that? So it gets that and increases the start of the iterator. Holy shit. What are you doing? Words are going crazy. So we need to have a counter for the current layer and an index into that as well. Because I don't think the current actually uses anything. Or this slot here. Let's see. Oh, the current is just used as a cache. Okay, good. So we make a layer. And it forms 0. So it's a layer, and then I guess start. Okay. Has more is true if make feeder start is smaller than the current index. Object. If that's true, or if... No, wait. If both... God damn it. Is smaller than the length of the object of the iterator. And that is object. Yeah, okay, so it needs to be for object. Wrong nesting. There we go. And then next does a proc 1. So the way I'm intending on making this faster, the current slowdown in this is... Hello, good evening. I'm working on a game, but primarily at the moment I'm working on rewriting some of the internals, specifically the architecture of how objects and things in the scene are coordinated and how they're related and stored. And yeah. Okay, so the way the iterators could be speed up, because currently they're slow because each iteration in the loop is going to cause multiple generic function lookups. is that instead of using generic functions for everything, it's going to return a closure that can return itself, and that should be much faster. So it creates a closure on initialization of the loop and then just recalls that closure. And that should hopefully be much more performant, but I'll have to look into it, and it'll also require a new API to work with that. Anyway, ARF layer iterator, and then index, and then actually we should probably do that. Increased index, and when let's put the layer smaller than the index, then we set 0 and increase the layer. Oh, not index. Fuck. Gosh darn it. Actually, it could be a bit... Could save on some stuff, make this faster, but I don't care right now. Avoid the desire to prematurely optimize whenever possible. Okay, setf to current can be done by setf. There we go. And that should be that. So now, when I do this, it's crashing. Great. Region is not of type iterator. Oh, did I not recompile this method? Nil. Not good. Why? Okay, that's nil. Why is that nil? Oh, wait. It's V4. No, wait. Hasmore is only ever true if that's the case. You don't even need to check for the other one. Or do we? Right, empty layers are a problem. Yeah, tracing is nice, but I'm too used to just inserting prints, to be honest. CT. No, wait, what? Untrace, okay. Yeah, tracing is... I often feel tracing is too verbose. And, oftentimes it also, like, it doesn't allow you to get into values that are inside the function call. So more often than not, I just use break instead of traces. But yeah, it's just... ugh. The debugging experience in Lisp is honestly kind of bad. And I really wish it was better. Oh well. Okay, so I need to think about how to do this. because we need to skip over empty layers. Yeah, no, you can do that in some implementations. You can break and stuff, yeah. I don't know. I've used it sometimes. Really not sure. I guess we should do the check in. Guess we should do it here and do the layer as an init arg instead. So here we need to do container cross objects. Do we actually, isn't there a count thing? Count 0 regions. No, I don't need counts. I need the first index. Position of 0 within the objects where key is length and test not is equal. That should give me the index, I believe. So hold on, let me just test this real quick. So we have an array of arrays. And the first one is going to have something, or it's not going to have anything. Yep, okay, works. Fantastic. So start or layer is going to be that. There we go. There we go. Now we just need to skip layers that are empty. So we increase and then for set a layer position. Start layer key length. Oh my god. That's not. I'm sure that's not going to be faster than a loop or anything like that, but who cares? Okay, so now it breaks. Great. Why? Because has more can return true even if it doesn't really have more. Can it? I'm not sure now. How many layers are there? Position will return nil at some point. Oh yeah, true, if the last layer is filled, then this is not gonna work either. God damn it. There we go. Let's... let me just do a loop here. Fuck. There. Well, 0 length here. guess we can just... this is also fucking gross. Holy shit. I don't like this. I don't like what I'm doing. That's not right. I should probably... we're finally set up. Hi. That should... Okay, right, so we have the same problem still, so... Let's use trace! Hooray! 4 next... 4 has more. What did it do? Has more, return T. Next is the unit, and then it returns T. Why? Yeah, so that's no good. Set f of layer. What? What do you mean? Why is the layer never set? Huh? Oh, smaller equals. Great. Hey, it worked. Also, I should... Okay, there we go. Great, okay. So that was the problem. Off by 1 errors. Who would have known? Cursed version. So I think I actually want to do the version stuff, even though it's really little at the moment. I would rather have that somewhere else, and possibly this as well. So let me just split this off into a separate file. Whoops. Wait, actually, never mind. Curse version not, but at least this stuff. Also, I need to really get myself away from making use of the goddamn arrow keys, because I got into that and it's so annoying to have to move my hand all the way over there, but it's ingrained in my goddamn brain now and I can't get rid of it. It is the worst. Okay, let's grab this and stuff that into a new file. Versions. There we go. Ace jump mode. I don't even know what that is. I have enough problems as it is navigating with Emacs without tripping over myself constantly. Right, so we need... Ah, fuck you. Okay. Where was region? File, version. Versions. Is it versions? Versions. Should probably make a directory for that instead. Make directory versions. And then the file in there. V0. There we go. Or actually rename. There we go. Versions V0. That should be good, I think. Okay, so we have a proper iterator that only goes over the objects we need. We have the loading still as before. And we should have things properly layered now. The only problem at this point now is what happens when you enter objects into it. I think there's a problem still because right now the objects don't get entered into the scene or registered with the scene, which is a problem because the scene is an event loop. Trial scene. It's an event loop, and the event loop does what? Start events, handle, add handler, remove handler. Oh, that's it? Okay, does it do its own? It has a register, which we probably need to call. But does the region have a backlink? I don't think it does. Yeah, it just has a objects list, so no parent pointer. How is this supposed to work? Which is a I should probably be using container unit, because you know, how is this supposed to work is a question I ask myself a lot. So hold on, what does it do here? Container unit, enter into scene graph. Errors if it's already there, blah blah. Set up scene graph. The registers all its things. Yeah, that's fine. If you enter unit, registers that. If you leave it, does that as well. Okay, great. Yeah, okay. Yeah, that sounds good. Actually, we should probably use container unit for this. I think I even had a layer set. Should be a container unit, but things get recursive in the HUD if that is the case. Bad. Well, that sounds bad, but I don't remember what the fuck that means. Good job, me. Alright. I don't even have the HUD anymore. Yeah, HUD isn't a thing anymore, so... I'll just leave that there for now. Okay, back to this. Container unit. Perfect. Just what we needed. Just what we needed. Right, so that should settle that, hopefully. Now I just need to stitch up the loading stuff, because currently it just disregards the metadata entirely. So... leaf version 0, okay. Have that there, good. So now I need to not do that. Actually, I didn't declare the init args. Bad me. Okay, there we go. Version, blah blah blah. Okay. Now, I believe what I can do is I can simply call make instance region with the information. Hello, Larson. How's it going? Working on internals and screwing up my Emacs things. Okay, so now that we have that, we can enter the that's how that goes into the scene, and then we process the region, so we don't need to process the scene at all. Okay, so region. Value Oh my god. There we go. And where was that? Load region. Probably return this. Or nah, it's fine if it loads the region. If it returns that. And then here. Now, when we save, it's a bit more problematic. Because we can't just do that anymore. Okay, hold on. What did the format look like? That preview is going to be interesting because I'm not sure how to handle that yet at all. Current music is Downtown District from the Mirror's Edge Catalyst soundtrack. Yeah, you can invoke that command at any time, and the bot should tell you, in if everything works correctly, what the music is at the moment. There's also a link below the stream for current music that should take you to my Lost FM profile, which should show that same information as well. Okay, so preview I'm just going to disregard for now. Let's add a fix me. Change that fix me to preview. Fantastic. Description. So that means we let start. And now we need to find the region, which is going to be a bit difficult. Guess I'm just gonna oversee. I guess. It's not really great, but I guess. That should work. Okay. By the way, if something is not great volume-wise, let me know, please, and I'll fix it ASAP. Okay. Probably just do this instead, honestly. It's a bit too easy to just use back quote when it's not entirely appropriate. Okay. Yeah, that should handle everything. Region. Okay. Let's test it out real quick. So we need a scene. And I guess region. And then save region. How are we pausing the scene to save region anyway? That doesn't make any sense. Makes sense for load region because we need to store it somewhere, but it doesn't make sense for the scene because the scene doesn't get used for anything. So that should really be region instead. Yeah. Okay, so we don't need that at all, and we can do another Let's Star removal. Hurrah for progress. So... region... test that zip. And it crashes. Why? Code region. Did I not recompile V0? Probably didn't. I have a bad habit of that. Code region payload. Is it still... I don't understand. What is the problem? Code region payload. Why is there no method? I don't get it. Should be a method. It's defined right here. Oh, I should just be able to. So, hold on. Asset, chunk player scene region. Yeah, it's there. So... huh? I'm not seeing this right. SLDB, please. What are you doing? Region, output stream, nil. Oh, the version is nil. Right. That's the thing I forgot to do last time. Go me. Okay. So, save region needs an around. Round target version if version or guess no version or and otherwise version apply region target version make instance. What is, how do I find the latest version? Do I have a thing for that? Probably not, right? Huh. Okay. There we go. Yeah, that should be fine. Or actually we can apply call next method instead. Avoid the recall. There we go. That should be fine. Yes. Great. Okay. Let's test it. Test zip. Meta file. Author anonymous version. Description. Great. It's there. It's there. And that still has the name and the entities and everything. Good. Great. Fantastico. Okay. Works. Time to commit. Region. Oh right, I deleted a chunk. I should probably not commit that quite yet. There we go. And that's already an hour gone again. Fantastic. So, that concludes some other work. The only issue now remaining is the paint calls. Def method paint. Region, target. And now we can do that through a special... So here's another design decision problem. We need to pass along the information of which layer we're currently drawing. And we can do that in two ways, as far as I see. You can either define a new function, paint layer or something, which takes the object to draw, the target to draw to, and the layer to draw that's currently being drawn. Or we could do a dynamic variable called current layer and set that to the layer being drawn at the moment. Now, the advantage of this paint layer approach is that it's cleaner to my eyes. Seems like a better choice. The problem with it is that now all the objects which are using the standard paint API will either need to implement a paint layer method, or I need to do a default fallback of just discarding this thing. So paint layer, object target layer, paint. So that's not great, and it's also obviously slower for the majority of cases. And the disadvantage of the variable is that it's kind of ugly in my eyes, but it should be faster since only the chunks should actually care about which layer they're currently on. What do you guys think? So it could be either A will be paint layer. So hold on. New times or so we can do either A paint layer unit target I, or we can do B let current layer I paint unit target. I would prefer the cleaner way and solve the performance issue when it presents itself, but I'm saying that with no familiarity with the rest of the project whatsoever. Yeah. Can the layers theoretically be drawn in different threads? If so, the special variable will be an even more unwieldy. No. No, they cannot. that's not possible in general, or, well, it kind of is, but OpenGL is single-threaded by design, and if you want to do any GL operations at all from a different thread, you need to do a thread context switch, and that is incredibly expensive. And so typically things are always done in one thread, the drawing. The only thing that's usually offloaded at all is loading of certain resources like textures that can be threaded. So there might be a second thread that loads in textures for which you have to use shared contexts, which are a whole bunch of 2D that I don't want to deal with, and which Trial currently does not support. Yeah. I understand why it's single-threaded too. It makes sense. Because having to deal with possible races in the drawing API, which is already heavily congested, would be a nightmare and probably a performance killer. So you really want to avoid that and leave it up to the application to deal with. Trial does support switching the context threads. So when Trial currently starts up, it creates the context in the thread 0 and then creates a separate rendering thread and switches the context over to that thread, and that thread runs at a constant rate, and the main thread is used for input and OS interaction. Which I'm not actually sure if that works properly with OS X. But I really don't care to test on OS X, to be honest. Yeah. I think I'm gonna go with the special variable approach. It bothers me slightly less. Or does it? I'm so bad at making decisions. I really am. I could spend hours at the supermarket debating which flavor of ice cream I should buy, or if I should buy ice cream at all, or if I should buy chocolate, and then which flavor of chocolate. Or actually, I probably shouldn't eat chocolate either, so maybe I'll just get some yogurt, but then which yogurt? Or maybe just some bread, but then should I get a croissant, or like white bread, or like a bigger bread, or... The layers are this. So it's a 2D game, and you need to draw the layers in back to front order. So the layers are basically just a way of remembering in which order to draw things. So these objects A, B, and C are on layers 0, 1, and 2 respectively, so they need to be drawn in order A, B, C. Now the chunk is a special kind of dealio because it sits on all 3 layers. And so the chunk is entered into all 3 layers at once, and it still needs to be able to distinguish which layer should actually be drawn at this point. And so it does that. It needs to receive the current layer number or index somehow, and that's done through this API decision here. Can they have their own draw function stored in a slot, so the paint method would just iterate over all layers and call the functions? I mean, what the layers store other units, and the units have their own paint methods. So in the end, paint is always what's invoked in some form, except for the chunk, because the chunk needs to have this special additional information of which layer is being drawn. So the layers are just a container, or in this case, it's just a vector of things. Sure. I'm happy to explain. I would rather people follow along than, you know, rush ahead, because I don't think that will be very fun. Also, I might have to set up a bridge between the Twitch chat and the primary stream chat, because it's kind of annoying to have two chats. A region is what we defined up here, so this is what I did. This stream, it's basically a level, I guess you will call it. I call it a region because of how the game is supposed to work in the future. It's not really divided into levels, but rather regions of a world. So yeah. Currently we're just using the region as a way to store the objects within the world, separated into individual layers. I mean, my stream page allows you to view on YouTube, Twitch, or Mixer, so you can still watch on Twitch, basically. It just has the chat integrated with the idea that no matter which platform you can watch on, you can still chat with everyone. And, yeah. That's the reason, because Twitch doesn't work well for some people. For some reason, I don't know if that's changed, but back when I started streaming, that was a problem, where for some of my viewers it would stutter uncontrollably, and that was no bueno. Alright, I think I'm gonna go with the special variable thing, because literally the only thing I foresee having to access the layer is the chunk, so making that a bit more inconspicuous, a bit more hidden, I guess, would be better. Okay. Actually, we should probably do it like this. Okay. Hello, welcome to the stream chat. Now you can use fantastic emotes and voice clips and TTS and all kinds of fun stuff, which I forgot to mention because you don't get that on Twitch chat. Where was I? Paint, there we go. Okay. Yes. Does do times actually do a... Yeah, it has to have a binding. Okay. Never mind. So that should paint things correctly. Let's test it out. Def class foo units. Def method paint. Foo target. Paint region. Nil is not of unsigned byte. 32.
Buonasera.
Hello. Okay, why is it trying to bind stuff? Oh, the player is being entered. Whoops. Wrong thing. Should enter food. Yeah, works. Great. Okay. Wait, does it work as intended too? Thanks. Yes. Okay. Wait, layer 2? Huh? What? That's kind of a problem. Probably need to do the offsetting. So... It's okay. I mean, you can shitpost all you want. I'm happy to have people chatting. It doesn't really matter what they do. some of you might remember that I used to do game dev streams and like graphic dev streams before this last year, and I kind of stopped because nobody was saying anything, and that's no fun. It made me depressed. I don't want you to want to pressure you into doing anything either, so just chill, I guess. As long as people are around, I'm happy. Okay. Okay, so no, actually this won't work. So we need I. Whoa, whoops, too much I. For length objects region 2. And I should probably do that like this. What? Oh, goodness. There we go. Okay. So now when I do that, it should be 0. Fantastic. Exactly as I wanted it. Okay. So let me commit that. Also, so now with this information, we can move on to re-implementing the actual chunks. And time machine. The chunk is kind of a big thingy. Whoa, no. I don't know what I pressed. It was a bad thing to press, apparently. So chunk is kind of a, you know, largish file by my standards. 300 lines. There's a bunch of garbage. It's pretty ugly. I don't like it. So we're gonna redo it from scratch. Chunk. And I'm just gonna keep that on the side there, so I remember what to do. So previously this layering stuff, before I started this rewrite, was done with another special variable which was called paint background p, and it was a whole bunch of hooey and garbage, and yeah, I'd rather not deal with that. So let's work.
When I joined the stream, I saw you writing code related to saving regions. I only saw a bit, but I noticed the data structure contains the player position or something, so I think this is what you'll use for save game. My question is, what's your strategy to make sure older saves are readable by newer versions of a game?
It's not actually for save games. Save games are a separate thing. For save games, there's a mechanism in here already somewhere. I forget where it is. Maybe it's, oh, save state. Here it is. So this is the logic to handle save states. For save states, I don't have a versioning, but for regions, I do. Regions are the are just the level file format. So you create a level, you save it, and when you load it again, when you play the game, that's called regions because level is not quite the appropriate word. But for all intents and purposes, it's a level. I do have a versioning. It works by, so if you look in the sample, the test zip we made, there's 2 files in here. Meta is fixed, so what's in here cannot change over versions. But what it has is this header here, which has a version identifier, and this is the name of a version class that should be used for this file. And when it loads in a region, then it creates an instance of this version class, and then all the rest of the stuff of actually parsing the contents of the region file are done through methods that specialize on a specific version. So for instance, if we go in versions v0 here, you see I have wrapper macros that basically just expand into a method definition where you specify explicitly which version you're targeting, and that allows you to specify how things are parsed per version. the fucking nice thing about this is you can do things like def class v1, v0, which means you'll inherit all of the parsing logic of v0, but you can override specific ones by adding new decoders for that version and that type of object explicitly. So you can change the versions without having to redo everything by using inheritance and, well, methods. So that's kind of cool, I think. Yeah. So that's how versioning is handled. The idea is also that it's a thing that potentially, if this ever gets to a stage where there's mods and stuff, users could add or extend the region format with their own things by defining a new version that is separate from the rest of the game. Yeah. So that's pretty cool, I think. Class is cool. That's where I'm standing today. Hell yeah, dude. What is surface? Surface. What is that? Surface. Oh, that's that. Okay, right. I getcha. Okay, so we have a chunk, which is a sized entity, solid, and the background. Why is it a background? What does that do?
I see. Thanks. Cool. I used a very similar approach, but in a totally different context. Event streaming for analytics.
Oh, alright. Sounds neat. What kind of event streaming? Background and foreground. What is that? The fuck? Sort queue. What is this? Entity negative. What? Oh, I think this is how it did. The layering stuff. Whew. Sort level. Yeah, so this is how I did the ordering of things. No, 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 no. No, 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 no. We don't do it like that anymore. No, sir. Get rid of this madness. Wait, that's not the right one. Fuck, I'm using the arrow keys again. God damn it. Okay. So this is unused. Is sort queue anywhere? Okay, no. Good. So I think these are unneeded now. Define order precedence. Yeah, this was a whole hooey of doing that. I was actually not too upset with how that turned out in terms of a design, but oof, it is rough.
Events for tracking behaviors in mobile applications. From time to time the event format could change slightly, but I needed to be able to recognize the format, that is, the version, and process it correctly, to obtain a corresponding object.
I see. I think I see at least. Okay, now... fuck you. I need that. Paint background P. Oh yeah, we still have this. Pause stack. Pause stack is also another thing that I need to think about. Ugh. let me actually write that down real quick. We think pause stack, the current method has some issues. Yo. Just for context, a pause stack is a thing that takes care of removing event handling and directing it to something else. So, for instance, when you pause the game, then only the menu should get events, but then you can have that layered. So if you're in the editor, only the editor should get events, but the editor might have an input box and only that should have things, and it gets kind of... Current implementation has problems. Okay, that's fine. That's also fine. Okay. Where's foreground? Yeah, the game does have a bunch of ad hoc UI elements that I really should get rid of and replace with my own thing, a complete UI toolkit, but I don't know when I'll get to that. I have some interesting thoughts for UI toolkits in general, but nothing solid yet. Okay, so we need a vertex array. I think I can just copy the class definition pretty verbatim without this. We have a surface. Do we need that in there? No. No, we don't need that in there. Okay. Tile map, a texture, background, tile set. What is a texture? Oh, that's the layers of the thing. Okay. I think. Wait, no. What? What is the difference between tile map and texture? What? What? Huh? Hold on. Tile map. Where's texture being used? Oh, I see. Okay, tile map is a Lisp in-memory representation of that, and texture is not. Okay, I see. So how do we do that? Should probably make combine that into one. So name that layers. Background, tile set size. Type should be for that. 2. Tiles. Tile size, default tile size. It doesn't need to be changeable, so it doesn't need to be a slot. Okay. Init args we can copy. B size, okay. sized entity. Okay, we call it B size because it's a helper. Okay. Oh yeah, I re-implemented most, or a lot of the helpers from trial to use vec2s instead of vec3s. Okay. I see. I see. Make array. So we don't want to do that. Don't want to do that either. Vector. It's actually, it's a thing, a problem I noticed earlier, but I didn't mention it, which is that the chunk actually, or currently in the loading, all you get passed along are the init arcs that are saved in the file, but the zip archive also contains image data, but you don't have a reference to the archive here, so it's not passed along, and I'm not sure what to do with that. Because currently the API is not designed to pass along 2 arguments. The temptation to just use a special variable is pretty strong, but I'm not gonna go for it this time. That will be too much of a hack. This is music I don't know. What are we gonna do with that? Same problem with the encoder. Wait, is it the same problem with the encoder? What do we pass along in the encoder? So, in the encoder, load region, where's say region? Code region payload, we pass a stream. Huh. Yeah. What can we do? What can we do? I feel like this is gonna be another thing that I'll need to think about for a bit. The obvious solution is to, well, the obvious solutions are, one, create some kind of intermediate structure like a console that has both whatever argument you want to pass plus the zip writer or zip archive in there so that both can be accessed, or the generic function gets extended with an additional argument for the zip entry thing, and I don't know which of these is preferable. Both seem not great. The additional argument is not great because then it'll the fact that it's a zip file will creep into these functions, to these two in the very least. So it'll make them less generic, I guess. And the other one is that obviously you need to unpack all the time to get at the argument you care about, which is usually either one of them and not both. So, actually... Yeah, I'll need to think about that some more. Brood it over what I want to do. There's another thing that I don't like about the current thing, which is that we have a version-dependent region encoding here, but this data here, the author version description and preview, are not done there, they're done in here rather than over here. And yeah, I don't like that. Could fix that by yeah, I don't know. I'll need to think for a while, which I'm not very good at. Oh Lord. Okay. Well, since I can't do that right now, let's just forego that and throw in some fix me's. Fix me. Do it. Okay, so size is the thing, so we need to be x and be y, and these need to be rounded. Pixel data. So actually, we need a texture array. Targets. Texture 2D array with height depth is gonna be clears. Actually, so we don't need. We do need a texture separate thing. Layers. By the way, I'm reading Neil Stephenson's last novel, Fall. I recommend it. What is it? What is it about? I've never heard of this author, but then again, I by far don't read as much as I used to or feel like I should. Internal format is going to be RG8UI. And filter nearest, Mac filter is nearest. Texture 2D array. Okay, and then I think allocation can be static. So I don't know if it even regards the allocation in trial. Resources, texture. Let's check. Or the storage. Let's see here. Texture 2D. Texture 2D array. Does use static storage. Okay. Okay. So we need static. Well, actually, no, because we want to resize it. So we should have standard dynamic allocation. Never mind. It's about mind uploading to the cloud. Okay. That immediately reminds me of a Mega 64 skit, which I'll play after the stream because playing it on the stream is gonna get me, or after the recording is gonna get me copyright blasted on YouTube. The characters from previous novels. It's readable even if it's not, if one is not familiar. Okay. I'll try to keep in mind. I haven't read a book that wasn't a tech book in years, and I feel bad about that. So hopefully I'll get to it. Okay, right. So moving on, clone size, copy.
I think it could be defined as speculative fiction. Neil Stephenson's novels tend to be about science and scientists, different fields of engineering, AI, currencies, and so forth.
Okay. I'm not sure how I feel about that. To be honest, oftentimes I don't I don't really like future prediction kind of deals. But maybe it's not that? I'm not sure, to be honest. Okay, here's the paint motherfucker function, which is a huge dealio. Okay, so it binds the veil, it gets the thing, tile size, default, tile size, view size, view scale, offset. I'll need to double check all of that. Tile set, tile map, and we don't need the surface at all. Texture 0 is gonna be I'll need to think about the background, to be honest.
If you want to try, I'd recommend to start with Cryptonomicon, which is set in, let's say, a version of our present, and during the Second World War. And there's a mix of historical and fictional character.
Okay. Yeah, I'll try to keep it in mind. Thank you very much. J92R asks how I'm doing, or how's it going? It's going alright. I'm making some progress, but it's slow, and I'm just dealing with understanding what I did before and rewriting it, and so it's not all too amazing at the moment. At least it doesn't feel that way. Okay, so tile set and tile map we need to bind. So that's texture. Alright. And do we need anything else? I'll leave the background out of it right now. Good comments. Level layer. what was it called? Keep forgetting. Current layer. Okay. Making some games, some soundtracks for some game devs. It's been quite a long day, but at least. Hey, sick, nice. A couple of weeks ago, I tried for the first time ever to do some digital composition with synths and stuff for another game project that I had. Man alive, was that a tough time. So I do want to continue trying that, but. Yeah, gave me a whole new level of appreciation for everyone that can actually make music and composition and stuff. So yeah, nice. Let's actually put that over there. The rest. Okay. So that should be all the information needed to render. I'm actually not sure what I need the view size for. I need to rethink the rendering. What is the view size for? View scale. Let me check. So what does it do? View size, view scale. It's only used in the vertex shader. So it takes the UV, view size, view scale, view offset. Why does that not count for the zoom level? That's weird. That confuses me. Does the view scale have the zoom level incorporated? Scale. Let's see. Does that zoom? Yes, it does. Okay, that makes more sense then. Okay. You don't need to prefix my name. I'll read it, but eventually, if you want to TTS, then yes. You need to prefix the thing. Yeah. Also lets you do other things. Other fun stuff, like use TTS clips. Hold on. We have like almost 200 clips that you can play with TTS thingy. Like
Gentlemen, from this day forward, you will all refer to me by the name Betty.
Okay. Oh fuck. Actually, let me really.
What in the fuck?
So good. Let me check real quick how I did it in this other project to see shaders. Tile, I think it was called. Hugh boy. So what does that take? It takes a view matrix and a model matrix. Oh, so it uses the... It's actually not a bad idea. Using the view and model matrix. The camera. And then what does it do with it? Some tile map, tile size, view size. Okay. This is an inverse mapping.
I wander off now. Thanks for the stream and the company.
Yeah.
Smiley face.
Same to you, man. Thanks for stopping by. Nice to see you here.
That
Have a
is
good time.
interesting, but I can only expect TTS to get real bad really fast. It is a good thing nobody with bad intentions has raided you yet. I've seen TTS get way out of hand.
Yeah, I know. It's a thing I'm semi-prepared for. I know it's a problem, but so far, I mean, most of my streams, it's just me and 2 of my friends, so it's been working pretty good. I do have the means of restricting it to only certain people, so if it ever gets shitty, I guess I'll have to do that. But yeah, I hope I won't have to do that. Okay, so this is the view and the model matrix. So I think I'm actually gonna screw this approach and just re-implement this again. Yeah, me and my 2 friends, yeah. I know, it's, you know, I've been streaming for years now, and, you know, it's kind of hard to find any more people to watch your crap. I do have 2 friends, I know. I have more than 2 friends, actually. More than 2 good friends, but the rest don't even care to watch the streams.
So, if you don't mind me asking, what exactly is your game about? I saw sometime earlier someone mentioned Cyberpunk, but I wasn't sure if they were referring to you or something else.
They were referring to something else, but my game is sort of cyberpunkish, kind of. The game is supposed to be set in a post-apocalyptic future with androids and, well, a few remaining androids and a bit more remaining humans. And basically, the backstory is that the world got destroyed by some unknown catastrophe that people can't remember, and all the knowledge of how the pre-catastrophe tech was manufactured was lost, and so there's only a few remaining settlements of humans and a couple of androids that survived it. And you are one of those androids, and you were sort of programmed to have a knack or an inclination for solving crime cases. And your job in the game is going to be to go around these couple of settlements and solve different kinds of crime cases, and through that slowly unveil a larger plot about a certain group of people trying to abuse the last remaining androids for their own benefit. And so I hope to include some elements of questions about you know, what's ethical about living machines and things like that. Not to sound too edgy or too deep, 45 quintillion for me. Yeah, it's just kind of an oversight of what I hope it to be about.
So basically the game is Detroit Become Human. Sounds the game is going to be
Not
story
quite,
heavy.
no. Yes. It'll be story heavy. The platforming element of it is basically that the idea is that the different settlements are connected through large spans of platforming levels that have various elements of challenge, and then there will be like pre-apocalypse kind of relics or ruins that you can explore as well, and that's also going to involve some platforming and stuff like that. Okay, yeah, so I think I'm just gonna rip this out and not put that in here for now. Read only, what do you mean? Huh? What? Oh, wait, that's not the right chunk, is it? Huh? I'm confused. Okay, that's the better chunk. Yes, okay, now I'm in the right place. I got caught up thinking about the game. Okay. Resize with the night. Okay, so the size is size and tile numbers. Is that a good idea is the question. Nalaj says, oh cool Lisp. Yes, Lisp is pretty nifty. I agree. I'll have to rethink this as well, whether the size should be number of tiles rather than size in units. Lots of things to think about. Okay, then set of sizes, some resizing stuff. Access, fulfill, and then the collision testing, which is currently broken. Slightly, ever so slightly broken. And, oh shit, actually we're at the end of the stream. Well, damn. That went by a bit faster than I expected it to.
Nice. Quite a few people on Twitch.
Yeah, it appears so. Which is pretty cool. Yeah, really glad that people are interested in this. I hope I can make it worth your time. But yeah, at the moment it's time to stop. So as a brief recap, today I started by finishing this implementation of the new save file format by introducing a region class that contains the metadata about the level and also handles the separation of levels into or separation of units in the level into different layers so that they can be rendered in the appropriate order. As part of this, it contains a special case for chunks and
at
stuff.
least the game sounds interesting, even though the familiarity is coincidental. I hope the progress with the game goes well. I've seen my fair share of game projects begin on here and then never come to fruition. It is quite sad. But yeah, nice to see someone else agree that there is some sense of morality to protecting life, even if it is electronic.
Yeah. I mean, there's plenty of games that discuss similar topics. I know I'm no revolutionary in that. But mostly I like detective kind of things, and I like platforming kind of things, and I like cyberpunky kind of things. And so that seems kind of the obvious way to go forward from that. And yeah, I really hope this is going to pull through. It is just a ton of work, and I only started this last October, this project, and I'm still a student, so a lot of my time gets sunk into university things. And at some point I also got sidetracked and demotivated and all of that. But this is something I do want to do pretty badly, so I hope I can get it to completion someday. Keeping chat open does not count as a user. Or at least not as a viewer, but it counts as a user in the Twitch chat user list thingy. Anyway, yeah. So this was it. Hopefully, unlike today, tomorrow I'll actually get some work done on my own and finish the chunk implementation. Which means after that, once that's actually working correctly, let me check the list, what we want to do after that. So after that, well, I probably won't finish it completely. So we'll have to do some testing there and maybe some finishing up. But once that's done, the next thing on the list of things to do will be either changing the tile set to do 16 by 16 tiles instead of 8 by 8, which means redoing a lot of art, and that means I'll be doing some art streams instead of coding streams. I hope you're up for that as well. Anyway, yeah, thanks for stopping by again, everyone. It's been really, really nice. I'm very humbled that people are showing up and showing interest and discussing things and asking me questions. I really, really do appreciate it. Thank you very much, and I hope to see you again soon, as in tomorrow. So, as I said last time, I'll be doing this every night, same time, 8 o'clock Central European Standard Time to 10 o'clock. Yeah, thanks for stopping by, and yeah, bye bye, have a good day, and yeah, chill out.